Today on an all-new Dr. Phil, they rescued a homeless woman.
I had been living in a field.
I invited Sarah to move into our home.
But after taking her in, she turned them in.
Calling protective services really is a sign of gratitude.
You've neglected your children so badly.
You've lost parental rights to your own children, and you're going to tell them how to raise theirs.
My children are loved.
You make fun of them when they cry.
Never.
You told me you would kill them if you weren't on your medication.
No!
You are a liar.
You are out of bounds.
You said that not only did they neglect their children, they also neglected you.
Majority of the time, I would be getting meals on my own.
She wasn't waiting on you enough. You were living in a tent. Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today's going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. Jason and Brooke have been married for 20 years and say that God comes first in their lives. As assistant church pastors, they do their best to help people in need. In fact, they say they have adopted 7 special needs children from America and as far away as Africa, offering them some light in their lives. But when they pulled a homeless former addict named Sarah off the streets and into their home, they say that light turned to darkness, and their faith was tested in the most cruel of ways. Brooke says instead of being grateful, Sarah turned them into child protective services with allegations of neglect and sexual abuse. Now, Jason and Brooke say they are furious that Sarah committed the ultimate act of betrayal in attacking their family. Take a look.
Sarah is crazy, self-absorbed, and dangerous.
Sarah is paranoid, distrustful, and passive-aggressive.
As a Christian, I wanted to help Sarah, but she ended up turning my life into a living hell. Sarah was homeless when I found her. She was living in a tent in a field that's right in front of our home.
This field right over here is the place where I first met Sarah.
I invited her to come to church with us that Sunday. I helped Sarah to get into a homeless shelter, but when she needed to have foot surgery, I invited Sarah to move into our home so that I could help take care of her.
Inviting Sarah into our home was a natural thing for us to do.
This is the couch where Sarah stayed. I helped her to get from here to the bathroom and for showering. As soon as she got her walking boot on, we asked her to spend her nights in here. She was included in all of our family meals. She went to church with us.
When Sarah started watching our family dynamic, she really started to turn on us.
Sarah accused us of starvation, sexual abuse, and neglect, saying that we starve our children. She was concerned about the level of independence that my kids have, how much they watched video games. One of our children has renal issues and wets herself. Sarah said that that was a sure sign that she was being sexually abused.
As a father, I was very angry that somebody thought that sexual abuse was occurring inside of my house.
When we found out, we had a pretty heavy confrontation.
My kids are not neglected. They are not.
Listen, I watched her. She didn't eat breakfast. And
I asked her, did you eat your breakfast? Did you clean your room? Her answer was
no.
And then she went back up and she came back down and I asked her again.
And she said
that
no.
is not neglect.
So she wasn't eating
No.
Last Wednesday, when she reported our family to child services, she put our whole family in jeopardy. I had thoughts of vengeance. We immediately kicked Sarah out of our house. Sarah's accusations against our family were absolutely insane. Our family could have been torn apart because of what she did.
Okay, it's good to meet you guys.
Great to meet you.
So, first off, you've taken in 7 children that you've adopted, right?
Yes.
Ages what to what?
4 to 24.
4 to 24.
Yes, sir.
And some of them are special needs?
Correct.
Or all of them?
They all have their need issues for sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's pretty busy.
It's busy. It is a very busy but completely fulfilling life.
So did you do these one at a time?
Yes.
So you did one, then how long before you did the second one?
We went back onto the list because we were told that it could take a long time to receive a second match.
Right.
But we were placed with another child 5.5 months later.
Oh, really?
To our surprise, yes.
Okay, and how old were the first two?
So the first two were about, the youngest of them was about 12 months old when the baby sister, biological sister to our youngest at that point, was born, and we wanted to keep the siblings together.
Oh, okay. So you had one about a year old, and then you got the baby sister when the baby sister was born.
Right. So here we had 3 children, 18 months and younger, in our house.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
It was intense.
All right. So we've established you're insane.
Yes. That's correct.
That's true.
And if you weren't before, you were then, right?
That's right.
Because that's really busy.
It was busy.
All right. So you've now got 7, some of them older, some of them younger.
Yes, sir.
And then you decide to bring Sarah into your home, and you meet her in a field coming out of a tent. And you were doing what in the field? What were you doing in the field?
So part of our faith is to love your neighbor. And when this field in front of our property ended up with a homeless community literally putting tents into the field, I felt like it would be a wonderful thing to always go with another person for safety purposes, but to go and minister to them by bringing them food and beverages and inviting them to join our church. So I spent a period of time over the course of about a month delivering them food and drinks, at which point I had invited them to join us for church. And that's when Sarah presented herself. I actually said, hey, do you guys want to come to church with me this Sunday? I had never seen a female there before, and she came out of the tent saying she was journaling to the Lord, and she believed that God was literally inviting her to join us and come to church.
Okay. And she told you that she had lost her 3 children to the Department of Children's Services, right?
That's correct, yes. Her children had been removed a 1.5 years prior.
Did you inquire as to why?
Absolutely. I spent the course of almost 4 months getting to know Sarah and understanding her before we ever opened her the door of our home.
And what did you learn in those 4 months? Did you see any red flags or anything that concerns you? Any mental health issues? Any background issues that caused you to say, I have 7 children in here, some or all of which are vulnerable. Is this the kind of person I want to expose my children to?
In the beginning, I noticed that there was some real instability. She voluntarily checked herself into a mental health hospital and got medications that helped balance and stabilize her.
Did you go along with this?
I did. You know, I got to know Sarah, through Brooke. She spent most of the time getting to know her. And my observation of Sarah was that she was a nice girl. I felt like she needed help. I mean, I knew that she had some issues. I mean, she was living on the street. But I didn't feel like any of the issues that she had was anything that could be a danger to our family.
I looked to see if there were things that would just jump out at me objectively as red flags if I was looking at it. And one, she's a stranger. I mean, you knew her for 4.5 months, but I mean, she's a stranger. Early on, she interfered with your parenting.
She certainly questioned
yeah, and
my
this started
parenting.
early on.
It did. Yes, sir.
She had a hysterical episode
Within the first week.
Within the first week, and that's what you referred to as kind of a meltdown, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And you talked about needing to have some boundaries.
Absolutely.
And she didn't say, okay, she came back at you with, well, I need some boundaries.
Yes, she certainly did.
Right? And she did show symptoms of mental illness, and you knew she had an addiction history.
That's correct.
You knew she had an abusive past.
Yes, she was abused. A lot of domestic violence.
Yeah, and you knew that she had behaved in such a way, and somehow in her history, that her children had been taken away, and I think, in fact, that her parental rights had been terminated.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Which is a pretty big step.
Yes, sir.
Not just to lose custody of your children and have visitation, even supervised visitation, but to have parental rights terminated,
Yeah.
where you have no access to your children whatsoever.
Yes.
So you knew these things about her fairly early in the game.
Yeah, I think...
Any of that say, you know, this might not be the best house guest?
Yes.
Sure, you know, but I'll tell you where we were at. Meeting Sarah and getting to know her, we knew that she had a history of addiction. We knew that she had a history of these things. But she was at a point in her life where she was looking to make a change. She was in recovery. She had months of sobriety under her belt. And, you know, we really felt like she was at a point in her recovery that she wouldn't be a threat to our home.
Okay. Well, Sarah is adamant that she absolutely has no regrets whatsoever for turning Brooke and Jason into child services, because she claims what she witnessed set off big alarm bells. And she says she should know because she's been there before. So we'll meet Sarah when we come back.
When I moved in with Brooke and her family, I became totally concerned about the welfare of their 7 children. I was concerned that her 5-year-old daughter was being sexually abused. I had no choice but to contact child services, and they were furious when I reported it. I do not regret calling protective services on them.
And later,
You've neglected your children so badly you don't even acknowledge it.
My children are loved. They are not in danger. They are thriving.
Are you done?
You have some nerve, Sarah. You have some nerve.
Monday,
I'm hot. Did everybody look at me when I came in?
her mom and sister
We're trying to figure out what's going on in your life.
I'm trying to tell you, darling, that's not a term of endearment.
claim she's delusional
2 gentlemen were grabbing me out of the room.
so you were abducted?
and facing felonies.
You were allegedly stealing a vehicle.
Why, Stephanie?
Oh, I'm just mimicking because I'm delusional.
Then on Tuesday, molested as a child by her own father.
You showed me videos.
It wasn't a big deal.
Showing her a pornographic video, well, that's a big deal.
That's Tuesday.
I feel that I've been totally betrayed by Sarah. Sarah believes that she did the right thing by calling the Department of Child Safety on us, but she is dead wrong. If Sarah won't say sorry for what she did, our relationship is going to be over.
But we just heard Brooke saying that she wants an apology from Sarah, the homeless woman she and her husband Jason rescued from the streets and invited into their home. Now, Sarah says she had no choice but to raise the alarm to child services after she witnessed signs of child neglect and serious sexual abuse.
2 years ago, my fiance and I fell on hard times and we lost our home. I actually left and found myself living on the street with him where we had no money and a tent. In order to stay sober, I knew I needed to leave my fiance and get off the streets. I had been living in a field for about a month before I met Brooke.
There was a homeless camp, and I had gone over and invited them to join us for church.
I was journaling in my tent, asking God for direction, what I should do.
So when she heard me invite them, that's when she popped out of her tent and said, "What did you say?"
I felt like it was a sign from God. Eventually, I moved in with Brooke and her family. After living there, I became totally concerned about the welfare of their 7 children. The children in the home often skip meals. Nobody watches them, and they play on their electronics all day long. Most of Jason and Brooke's children have issues with fetal alcohol syndrome and mental problems. I was concerned that her 5-year-old daughter was being sexually abused. I was concerned that it was her son that was behind the sexual abuse. I recognized child abuse because I was abused when I was little. I had no choice but to contact child services. Jason and Brooke were furious when I reported it. I do not regret calling protective services on them.
My 5-year-old, I'm explaining to her that she's going to have to do an interview with a police officer. She was crying and telling me no. That's scary.
Even I was neglected in their home. When I was recovering, I was left alone for 3 days. I thought they invited me into their home to take care of me. Brooke and Jason don't value my opinion because they think I'm just some homeless girl found on the street. I will not apologize for what I have done because I know that I made the right choice. I know that Dr. Phil will agree with me when I say, if you see it, say it.
Okay, you've been backstage listening to everything, right?
Absolutely.
First off, anything you want to say in response to what you've heard so far?
Absolutely. When I was in your home, you had no problem with me there, and now you're on a show. You're literally a show. You've neglected your children so badly, you don't even acknowledge it. Everything I just saw on that television was a bunch of crap. You're
Not
too
true.
busy. You're too busy
Not
with
true.
everybody else outside of your home to see what's going on in your own home. If they have special needs, why are you putting them on the computers all day? You're neglecting them. Everybody else comes in your home, you neglect them. You don't even talk to them. You know what they need? They need your love. They need your attention.
Are you done?
Yeah, go ahead.
Fantastic. My children are loved.
Are they? By
My
money?
children
Even
get
in the
to
Bible
go
it
on
says
trips
that you shouldn't be using.
Excuse
you don't
me.
look at the money.
I didn't
portion
interrupt
of it.
you, did I?
Go
I
ahead.
gave you your time. It's my turn. I take my kids to school every single day, and I talk to them the entire way. I ensure that they have packed appropriate lunches every single day. I talk to them on the full drive back every single day. I give them snacks. I help them with their homework. Then they get free time. God forbid they have free time to choose what they want to do. Then we sit down as a family and eat the home-cooked meal that I make. And we sit down and we go through our favorite parts of the day at the dinner table, and then we shut the electronics off, and we go and we shower and we snuggle and we watch TV together. And we repeat it the next day. That's normal, that's healthy, that's appropriate, and my children function at the highest levels that they are capable of, and it's because they are loved and they are stable. And you have no right to come into my home as a guest and tell me that my children are being neglected. They are not in danger. They are thriving. They get their academics needed, beyond needed.
Are you done?
You have some nerve, Sarah.
Are you?
You have some nerve.
You just mentioned it yourself. You get up to drive them to school. Who makes them breakfast? Who makes your youngest daughter breakfast every morning?
My grandma makes her breakfast every morning. Thank
It's
you
the
for
middle
pointing that
child
out.
that
No,
makes her breakfast
hold on,
every day.
hold on.
You
With
don't even
respect.
get up out of bed to
No.
help them until minutes before
I'm
it's
up
time
at
to
6
go.
o'clock, ma'am.
So then come outside and talk to them, interact with them.
Well, if I might, I want you to know the allegations that she made to DCS.
There's more.
Oh, good. Oh,
This
you
is
would be
according
very
to
interested.
Brooke and Jason, that you were accused of child neglect, emotional abuse, starvation,
Not starvation.
and sexual abuse.
Sorry.
Those were the things you
Yes, not
alleged?
starvation. They're missing breakfast. The kids eat lunch, and mom comes out and yells at them because they've made a mess and then has to clean it for them, and she gets irritated. She doesn't make lunch for them.
No, I don't
She
make
doesn't do
lunch for
breakfast.
them.
You
Okay,
don't make
and-
breakfast either, nor do you make
No, I
lunches
don't.
during the week.
And
They're all helping each other,
I
taking
pulled
care of
together
each
the
other.
basis for your allegations. You said sexual abuse with regard to the daughter is because the child wets herself
Part of the reason, yes.
and, well, I'm going down the list, lacked emotion to her brother and looked away from him, and slept with her bottom in the air. And that those things indicate to you that she's being sexually abused by that brother.
No, it's a sign of sexual abuse. I didn't indicate that they had been. I was concerned about it, and I wasn't sure if I was on right track. So can I give some feedback, too, that when I had these concerns about everything that I did report, I made sure that I was using not my emotional mind or my logical mind, but that I was putting everything together to come to that conclusion. In addition, I spoke to therapists and counselors outside of their home to get a second opinion to make sure that I was on the right track or that it was something that needed to be brought to someone else's attention. They were ignoring everything that I had because I swear the reason for it is because I'm, again, the homeless girl from the fields that has nothing else to give.
Brooke claims that Sarah's, in her words, insane allegations prove to her that Sarah is self-centered, crazy, scary, traumatized, and dangerous. Her words, not mine. We'll take a closer look into Sarah's possible motivations when we come back.
It is beyond insulting, offensive, and completely delusional.
You're lying.
Hey,
And you're lying.
hey,
right?
Sarah,
Yes,
Sarah,
you are.
Sarah.
You have no right.
And later, you also said that not only did they neglect their children, they also neglected you.
Yeah, for 3 days they left me there. Majority of the time I would be getting meals on my own. Like, we planned this
You were
time.
living in a tent.
When Sarah first moved in, I set some boundaries. No smoking, no drinking. Because I had given Sarah some boundaries, she came back to me with some boundaries of her own.
I asked Brooke to not treat me as a child, to respect my choices and my decisions. I wanted to make sure that Brooke knew neither of us were better than the other. Brooke treated me differently because she felt that she was far more superior than me.
I found it quite comical because here I'm opening up my home to you and you're going to tell me how it is.
Well, Brooke and Jason say they have been happily married for 20 years and live a fulfilling life with their 7 adopted special needs children. They say they extended their love to Sarah, a homeless, recovering addict who they welcomed into their home only to learn that she had what they consider to be ulterior motives. And based on the belief that if you see something, say something, Sarah says she saw something. She saw things that she considered to be indicative of or certainly warning signs, and she went to Child Protective Services, and she talked about sexual abuse and gave 3 reasons for it. She talked about child neglect, and she said all children that skipped breakfast for 5 days, took care of themselves, played electronic games, and stayed indoors. Homework was criticized by Brooke and Jason, and that was indicative of neglect. You wanted to respond.
First of all, she's taking innocent young men and putting something on them that is beyond just something you can casually accuse somebody of. That is a violent crime that they are being accused of, right? There's an impact that comes on those boys emotionally when those accusations are being made. Secondly, I do have experience and training in advanced training hours for our licensing on what a sexual abuse victim looks like. My daughter doesn't bedwet. She doesn't have night terrors. She's not afraid of going into her bed at night. She doesn't have sexualized behaviors. She doesn't have any access to her room. The girls are on this side of the house. The boys are on this side of the house. And before we ever brought a teenage boy into our home, we even put cameras in the girls' rooms. So it is beyond insulting, offensive, and completely delusional that one 5-year-old who's in a barn for a youth group session is holding her pee because she doesn't want to leave and miss out on the fun, and she urinates herself, and that makes her a sexual abuse victim? That's crazy.
You're lying. You're lying. You say...
How is she...
She's lying because her conversation with me in terms of like the camera, for example, she has a camera in there because they're worried about the girls that eating candy or bringing electronics into their room. It has nothing to do with the sexual abuse. Secondly, does go up into the room.
You may not use my son's name on this show. You have no right to humiliate him.
You also have no right.
You don't use his name
Then
again.
don't neglect your children.
I
never
bring
him in of it.
Hey.
And you're lying.
Hey,
right?
Sarah.
Yes,
Sarah,
you are.
Sarah, I need you to listen to me right now. What you're saying couldn't be further from the truth. There is absolutely nothing. There is not one thing about what you're saying that is accurate. And here's the worst part. The worst part is you can bring your concerns to us. We address your concerns. And despite what we tell you that is happening in our house, the controls that we have in place, the insight that we have into our kids, you are uninterested in listening to why they are okay. You are insistent upon finding your own past in my children's present.
You're right. And you're right. You want to know why you're right?
Not okay.
I would love to explain that.
Well, let's see if you're correct about that, because I looked at some of Sarah's statements. One of them said, quote, "It's trying to bring it to your attention so that you don't end up where I am without my blanking kids." No, you're shaking your head. No, that's a quote. Well, I have it recorded.
Okay. It's totally fine. I'm not bothered.
And I'm just saying this for insight.
No, it's fine. I agree.
I'm just saying this for insight purposes. You say where I am with regard to my kids. And where are you with regard to your kids?
First, it's not without my, it's
sorry?
not meant any attention towards my kids. Where am I with my kids? I've been an addict for 33 years, ignoring and normalizing bad behavior that was taught to me, and I'm just learning now that I have my own voice and I can create my own morals and values. So my rights have been severed from my kids, which I agree is acceptable because I was not, and I'm still not in the right place to have my children.
You said, it's like me trying to scream out as a child going, hey, this is what happened to me as a kid, and this is how I tell you, and it's like you ignore me.
Right.
So it's me, me, and it appears to me that you may be hypersensitive to these issues, and it's like the old saying, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail, and when you're a victim, everyone looks like they've been abused. It's confirmation bias. You see what you're looking for. Sarah says that she was upset with Brooke and Jason during her stay with them because she expected more. So where did they fall short? We'll find out when we come back. Do you have any gratitude for the fact that they did open their home to you?
Absolutely, and I've expressed my gratitude all the time.
Calling Protective Services really is a sign of great gratitude.
I knew that something was off with Brooke when I began to see her lying. She said that the trailer in the backyard was her father's and that he had no idea that I was going to be living in it.
Sarah confronted me and said she felt like I was lying to my dad.
It's our property. There's absolutely nothing to hide, and it was perfectly okay.
If Brooke wants people to believe that she's a good Christian, she should start acting on it and telling the truth.
Do you have any gratitude for the fact that they did open their home to you?
Absolutely, and I've expressed my gratitude all the time.
Calling Protective Services really is a sign of great gratitude.
I thought that I was doing what
you said
I thought was right, and I still think I'm right.
But you also said that not only did they neglect their children, they also neglected you.
Yeah, for 3 days they left me there, and during the day they would actually, like, Brooke would sleep in. I'd have to, majority of the time I would be getting meals on my own, like in the kitchen on crutches, getting everything. It's not that I was expecting more, it's just that I didn't expect it that way. Okay, we planned this time.
You were living in a tent.
I'm fine with living in a tent.
But they brought you into their home, and you're saying that she wasn't waiting on you enough?
No, it's not that she's not waiting on me enough. It's okay.
No, that's what you said, though.
It's not that she's not waiting on me enough. It's that if you plan something with somebody, you stick through it, and you actually do what might be considered, like, you know, acceptable. Putting somebody in a kitchen by themselves with crutches, it was really difficult. That's all I'm saying. I never said, oh,
well, no, but you said you said that wasn't the deal that was made.
Well,
you said she was...
Maybe it wasn't what I was expecting, and that's fine. Like, I am very grateful.
Okay, but do you still believe that this child is being molested?
No, and that's the thing. I didn't know if it was molestation. That's what I even tried to explain to them, and I explained to DCS too. When you look up the signs on Google, it actually says bedwetting.
She doesn't bedwet.
Wetting yourself. I'm sorry, and it's so normal that your child wets herself and you're acknowledgeful of it, and you're just like, oh, she'll take care of it. She's 5.
Actually, when children are being potty trained, one of the most effective ways...
Are you being potty trained at 5?
Excuse me, my turn. When children are being potty trained, one of the most effective ways to get them to understand that there's a consequence to their action is to allow them to clean up their spills. So when she had accidents at the age of 3, I taught her how to put it into the laundry room and deal with it. And guess what? We never have a problem with it. And when we do, she is self-sufficient, that she knows how to take care of herself.
Where did she spend most of her time?
We need to clarify something here. This needs to be said.
It's not even in your house with you, it's with her grandmother.
Sarah.
You don't even know what's going on in your house.
We need to clarify something here.
People come in and out of your house every day, and it doesn't even bother you.
You are acting like our child wets herself every single day.
One time.
We're talking about one time. You're building a church on one time. Are you kidding?
When I prayed about it, Brooke, when I was like, God, am I seeing the right thing? It was almost immediately after that when you were like, she doesn't wet herself. She doesn't wet herself at all.
I said she doesn't bedwet.
You said she doesn't wet herself.
Because that's a symptom
that can be
You're
associated.
sweating yourself during the day. Yes.
One time.
One time. Just like they only didn't eat breakfast 2 times, but yet you're not up in the morning to clarify that.
There are 12. They can get a
about your
granola bar and a
5-year-old?
banana and a yogurt, and I'm not
Or
going to
your
sit on her and shove
9,
oatmeal
10?
down her face.
Your
She's
10
12.
Okay, well, what about your 10, 11-year-old? Who's making lunch for your daughter? You have the little kids making the younger kids lunch. You have your grandmother making breakfast
for a decade.
What are you doing for them?
Right.
Other than buying them things.
You know
They
what?
can't
I want to
buy
answer that
emotions.
question. Let me answer that question. That was an excellent question. What are we doing? What we are doing is we are teaching our kids how to be self-sufficient. We are teaching our kids how to problem solve. We are teaching our kids how to love people and how to help people who aren't as fortunate as we are. That is what we are teaching our kids.
You make fun of them when they cry.
No.
You say you want to kill them. You told me you would kill them if you weren't on your medication.
No!
You are a liar.
You
Liar.
are
I
out
have
of
that.
bounds.
So can Sarah put aside her feelings about this? Does she have any remorse whatsoever? Because she says she doesn't still believe that molestation is going on. You don't believe
No, I
there's...
said I was concerned that it may be happening.
Well, we'll talk about that investigation when we come back. And how does this all end? We'll find out when we come back.
You stabbed us in the back,
I
Sarah.
still disagree. Your family is very happy on the outside, Brooke. They're not happy on the inside.
That is none of your business.
That's right.
Monday,
I'm hot. Did everybody look at me when I came in?
her mom and sister
We're trying to figure out what's going on in your life.
I'm trying to tell you, darling, that's not a term of endearment.
claim she's delusional
2 gentlemen were grabbing me out of the room.
So you were abducted?
and facing felonies.
You were allegedly stealing a vehicle.
Why, Stephanie?
Oh, I'm just mimicking because I'm delusional.
Then on Tuesday, molested as a child by her own father.
You showed me videos.
It wasn't a big deal.
Showing her a pornographic video, well, that's a big deal.
That's Tuesday.
Sarah's accusations have rocked my family to the core. We are some of the only people who have loved Sarah, and that's by her own admission.
We gave Sarah a home, we supported her, and she turned around and betrayed us.
This is well beyond my capacity to be able to influence her for the positive. I'm passing the buck to Dr. Phil on this one.
Well, Sarah reported what she believed to be child abuse and neglect while accepting Brooke and Jason's offer for a safe place to sleep when she was homeless. But were her perceptions distorted and influenced by memories of abuse in her own life? I think so.
I would rather have called than to have completely ignored it.
No. You appealed the courts when your children's rights were severed, and you told me that DCS was the devil and that they destroyed families and that they didn't equip you with what you needed to get your kids back, and then you invited them into my house.
You know what happened?
And put my entire family, healthy, happy, functional family,
I still disagree
at
with
risk.
your family.
You stabbed us in the back,
I
Sarah.
still disagree. Your family is very happy on the outside, Brooke. I agree with that. They're not happy on the inside.
I need you to understand. There were
Absolutely understand it.
There were 2 things I was afraid of when you did what it was that you did.
Do you ever tell
My
your wife
primary fear was not what was going to happen with CPS, whether or not they were going to remove our kids. I was so confident in the parents that we are, that was not it. My fear was that my kids would learn that by helping people, bad things happen. And that is not something that I want them to learn.
That's right.
And here's my second fear. My second one, Sarah, my second one is for you, because despite all of this, and you might not think it, I still have a heart for you and I care for you. And let me tell you, if you do not learn how, when people help you, not to externalize your issues onto them, it's going to be so hard for you. And that is my concern. You need to learn from this experience and admit and understand that you got it wrong.
You realize that there's
You
no
need some
happy
humility
family that's
of your
perfect,
heart,
right?
Sarah.
Like yours. Do you tell your wife that you're overwhelmed and that you're tired and that you can't take on anymore?
I am so honest with my wife about everything because I am sometimes tired.
But
I am.
Do you understand that that is none of your business?
That's right.
Seriously. You don't come in and start taking somebody's inventory about how what kind of commerce goes on between them. That's so inappropriate. You've lost parental rights to your own children, and you're going to tell them how to raise theirs.
I'm not willing to apologize for us doing it.
The #1 show in daytime is taping now. All we need is you.
You're going to be in the Los Angeles area and want to watch a live taping of the Dr. Phil Show? Call 323-461-PHIL or visit drphil.com. Tickets are free, and I hope to see you soon. Brooke, Jason, and Sarah's church pastor, Mike, says that it's always a sensitive issue when it comes to helping and trusting strangers. Let's take a look at what he said.
Brooke and Jason have been part of our church for a few years now. They're a wonderful couple. If there was a nomination for a gold medal for parents, you would just automatically nominate them. They brought Sarah to church on a Sunday morning and introduced her to me. For whatever reason, Sarah decided that she thought that some way Brooke and Jason were not treating their own children as well as they should. Her way of dealing with that was to call the Children's Protective Services. When I heard that, I was just shocked. Sarah needs help. She has issues emotionally and mentally still. And I thought, is it safe to keep Sarah in the house? I was concerned that maybe Sarah would go back to the streets. There'd be no more help for her. I should have known better, because I know Brooke and Jason reached out to her, and they've reached out to Dr. Phil to help bring Sarah to a better place in her life, which is what we're all praying for.
Well, Pastor Mike Sims joins us now via Skype. Pastor, thank you for joining us.
Well, it's my pleasure to join you. And I might begin by saying I have so much regard right now for Jason and Brooke for not jumping out of their chairs and strangling her. I was not aware of the level of deception that poor Sarah is under, and I have never heard her speak so poorly about anybody, particularly Jason and Brooke, who've reached out in love to help her. So I'm a little worked up about this, and I'm hoping we can resolve it.
Well, I understand, and that's what I'm trying to say. I just said to Sarah that I'm not trying to put her down. I'm just trying to say you need to recognize two things. One is you're looking at this through a filter of your own experiences, which distort your perception of what you see around you. And number two, how inappropriate it is to be sitting in judgment of the dynamic between a husband and wife who are juggling all of the balls that are involved in raising 7 special needs children. I mean, your credibility is not great. You've lost parental rights to your own children, and you're going to tell them how to raise theirs. That doesn't make sense. And then you're going to start attacking the dynamic of their marriage. I mean, is there nothing that you won't inject yourself into?
I agree that I may have been, or that I'm wrong. That's not the thing that I don't want to apologize for. What I'm not willing to apologize for is doing it, because I put lots of thought and effort and got other people's opinions into doing it. You
did cross some lines here, and
I did, and I apologized about that as soon as I did it.
Okay.
I did, she did. Yes, I said that I was sorry.
Okay. Well, at this point, I have some things I want to say to them that don't involve you, so I am going to excuse you, and I thank you for being willing to come and talk about this.
Monday on an all-new Dr. Phil, her family claims she's delusional.
I'm hot.
You were allegedly stealing a vehicle.
Why, Stephanie?
Oh, I'm just mimicking because I'm delusional.
That's Monday.
Want to know what's coming up on Dr. Phil? Visit our website and subscribe to our email newsletter. You'll get weekly updates, life strategies, and exclusive video that you won't find anywhere else.
Plus, on drphil.com, you can see sneak previews of upcoming shows. Log on today.
Well, I'm back with Brooke and Jason. I asked Sarah to excuse us because I wanted to talk just to this couple. Well, can I give you all a couple pieces of advice?
Absolutely.
Please.
We
Okay.
know what's coming, doctor.
Yeah. And first, I want to say I applaud both of you as parents for your willingness to do what you have done. And I'm humbled by your giving nature with these children. God bless you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Having said that, let's talk about this benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
I think giving people the benefit of the doubt is a higher form of insanity. Okay? I don't think you should give people the benefit of the doubt. I also don't think you should go in assuming that they're bad. Why would you do either one? What you should do when you meet someone new is you should collect data. You should make an informed opinion. You meet someone, then you start gathering data. And when you have enough data to form an opinion, then you form an opinion. And when you see red flags, you don't ignore them. And do you not love those people that are not okay? Of course you do, but you can love them long distance.
Right.
You don't have to bring them into your home and put your children exposed to them. Be Jason and Brooke, not Pollyanna and Pollyanna. That's all I'm saying. Just be careful with all that.
Yes.
All right, I want to thank all of my guests today, especially including Pastor Mike Sims. We'll see you next time.
Dr. Phil.
I'm hot. Did anybody look at me when I came in?
My mother and my sister Ryan are jealous of me. I am 110 pounds, I'm attractive, and I'm judged by that.
her mom and sister.
We're trying to figure out what's going on in your life.
I'm trying to tell you, darling, that's not a term of endearment.
Claim she's delusional.
You told the producers that you had been tested and had 185 IQ?
Yes.
Albert Einstein is 160.
And 2 gentlemen were grabbing me out of the room.
So you were abducted?
Facing felonies.
You were allegedly stealing a vehicle.
Why, Stephanie?
Hey, Raymond. Oh, I'm just mimicking because I'm delusional.
Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today's going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. This is Stephanie. In just a few months, she says she is going to trial for multiple felonies. She says she is innocent, a victim even, and her sister Ryan and mother Jody need to back off and stop judging her without all the facts. Now, Ryan and Jody say they do have the facts, including Stephanie allegedly breaking into a car dealership, stealing a car, and over 100 car keys. And if that wasn't bad enough, they claim there was also a nationwide Amber Alert after Stephanie went on the run with her daughter for 3 months. Take a look.
My sister Stephanie is crazy, paranoid, delusional. My whole family is worried about her. Stephanie has a history of meth abuse, and we've recently been informed that she's using prescription drugs as well.
Drugs have changed my daughter's life for the worse.
When Stephanie was 8.5 months pregnant, she completely disappeared. She left the state, and she barely made it to the hospital in time in order to give birth. Stephanie's child was born addicted to methamphetamine. It was horrible. When the child was 18 months old, Stephanie disappeared again.
We came home. Stephanie and the baby were gone. I requested an Amber Alert because I was very worried about the safety of the baby.
Stephanie was found several states away, being observed by police at a known meth house, and Stephanie was arrested.
Stephanie has felony charges pending on theft and possession of an illegal substance.
A few months ago, Stephanie went to a dealership, stole hundreds of keys right out of their lockbox, and drove off in one of the cars. The police found her trying to steal a car in a motel parking lot using one of the keys that she had stolen from the dealership. Stephanie was later bailed out. She returned to town and stole my stepdad's car. Her bail was revoked.
When the bondsman placed Stephanie into custody, Stephanie had dyed her hair black. She was trying to hide her identity.
A couple of weeks ago, she was arrested for resisting arrest. An officer pulled up behind her. She left the vehicle and ran away. The police had to go chase her down.
Every time the phone rings, I'm afraid that I'm getting that phone call that something has happened to her.
Stephanie is a danger to herself, and I'm very concerned she could pose an extreme danger to her children.
Well, you heard several allegations, and those are just some of the reasons Jody says she recently received temporary guardianship of Stephanie's daughter. Now, something Stephanie still doesn't know about, and she's going to find that out today here. But that's not all. In addition to her run-ins with the law, Ryan and Jody say they worry Stephanie may be suffering from a serious mental illness.
Stephanie creates these paranoid conspiracy theories to explain away everything that she does.
She has many delusions that are not based in reality.
Stephanie believes that my mom is not actually her mother. My mother is actually her sister, and that explains why my mother is so jealous of her.
I absolutely gave birth to her. I have the stretch marks to prove it.
She blames one of the toddlers in the neighborhood for coming into the apartment and stealing cash.
She believes that we are of Italian descent and that our entire family is under the protection of the mafia. My grandmother was born in Mexico and my grandfather was Native American.
Stephanie believes that the people that she stole the car from are following her.
Stephanie covered up the windows with black curtains. She believed that somebody was watching her.
When Stephanie was arrested a couple weeks ago for resisting, she told the family that it was just an elaborate scheme for the people that she thinks are following her. The sheriff's department put her in a protective custody. She currently does not have custody of her son. And right now, my mother is raising her daughter. Stephanie is unaware. My parents have filed for an emergency temporary guardianship.
I made a promise I'm going to protect that little girl. And it's hard when you're the mother, the grandmother, and you have to make a choice.
Well, it's good to meet y'all, and thank you for making the choice you've made, because if you didn't, that child would be adrift. Tell me what you want to accomplish today. What do you want to get done with her?
I want her to get some kind of realization, some glimpse into actual reality. And I want to know what is wrong with her. I mean, if it's a substance issue or if it's just a mental health issue, or both.
How is she getting by now? How does she survive day to day to day?
I support her. I pay for her apartment and the utilities and, you know, supply some bit of groceries for her to get by.
You're providing her apartment, utilities, food.
It's not enough.
It's never enough for Stephanie.
She's not grateful?
No, and she calls my parents greedy because they're not willing to go way out of their pocketbook to support her fully. And it's never enough for her.
All right. And what's your relationship with her day to day?
Non-existent. I haven't had any real contact with her for a while.
And is she doesn't work?
No.
And does she get out other than when we know that she gets in trouble? Because her last apartment, she had the windows covered, blacked out. I mean, she was living very reclusively, right?
Yeah, and she would still go out, and she doesn't have many friends. You know, she doesn't have many close friends, and any that she develops, it's usually through some kind of a substance relationship.
She even says, I don't have any friends.
Well, she says she doesn't have friends because everybody's jealous of her.
Right.
Because she's so pretty and
yeah, and even
everybody
in
wants her life.
When she was working, she was always having relationship difficulties with co-workers.
She says you're her sister, not her mother, but then she refers to you as her mother. So she's very inconsistent with that.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But she says you prefer that she would be raped and murdered.
Well, that's ridiculous.
Well, why do you think she would think you want her to be raped and murdered?
I think she thinks somehow I want to be her.
Well, that's what she says. She says you want her skin, her face, her nose, her looks, her life, that if you can get her raped and murdered, then you get to be the precious angel.
I'm going to enter into her body and become her. Is that
and you know, there's a point at which it is, we are talking mental illness and delusion, and there's a point where she's just making excuses to escape accountability.
Correct.
Well, last August, she was arrested breaking into a car in the possession of meth.
Right.
Correct.
She had a child and addicted to meth. She's at 18 months, she absconded with the child, was arrested at a meth house with meth.
Yep.
But then there are periods of time in between where you just don't know.
There has been a chunk of time where we were fairly certain that she was clean and that she wasn't using.
I would say close to 10 years where she was working well, she was being successful.
Why do you think she agreed to come here today? Because she, you know, we've talked to her, and frankly, she says you can just go jump in the lake, editing that substantially.
I think she, you know, is going to enjoy her moment.
Yeah, I think she's here to be in the spotlight, and I think she's here because She wants to prove to everyone that she's not crazy.
And she said this is her vindication party.
Yeah.
This is her coming out party to vindicate herself and show that she's not what you two judge her to be. And she is here. Stephanie says if she is mentally ill, then her mother and sister are too. She says she's here for vindication. Well, we're going to meet her after the break and hear what she has to say.
My mother and my sister Ryan are jealous of me. I am 110 pounds, I'm attractive, and I need my mother and my sister to shut up. I'm coming on the show for vindication.
And later, they think that you have this exaggerated view of yourself.
Sure, I'm hot.
Does
everybody look at me when I came here?
Are you unstable?
Aren't we all?
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil.
I am still haunted by the abuse that I had as a child. My father said that it was all my fault.
For the first time in 3 years.
He says you seduced him. How old were you when this started?
7 years old.
She will face her molester.
You say she pulled down your pants being a curious child.
Where do you think the curiosity came from? Little girls don't think about strip teasing unless they're taught it.
I didn't teach you strip tease.
You showed me porn videos.
It wasn't a big deal.
The father showing their minor daughter a pornographic video, that's a big deal.
That's tomorrow.
Well, Ryan says her sister Stephanie takes zero accountability for her out-of-control behavior, which includes being arrested as a fugitive of justice and having a child born addicted to drugs. Now, Stephanie, on the other hand, says her sister is just an evil mini version of their mother, and she is sick and tired of both of their unfounded and ridiculous accusations. Take a look.
I'm coming on the show for vindication. I get constant ridicule and the constant judgment, and I'm tired of it. I need my mother and my sister to shut up. Stop talking and listen to me. My mother and my sister accuse me of being a drug addict. I am not. I am a self-medicator, and I only use prescription medication. I am on Ritalin, Ambien, and Xanax. The Ritalin makes me focus, and it calms the storm in my head. I have never been clinically diagnosed with a mental illness, but I have self-diagnosis, OCD, ADHD, and extreme anxiety. My mom and my sister Ryan used my arrest to try and take my children away from me. When I was in jail, nobody helped me. I talked to my mother for about 30 seconds on the phone. She was more concerned about herself. The article was so horrible. She just blew me off like she normally does because of their constant judgment. I don't want to be around my family. They're constantly watching every move that I make. My mother and my sister Ryan are jealous of me. I am 110 pounds, I'm attractive, and I'm judged by that. My mom and my sister are sad about their own lives, so they use me as a way to deflect from that, and it's irritating.
Well, Stephanie, how are you?
I'm here. How are you?
I'm here. You've said that this is kind of a coming out party in terms of getting things straight and getting vindicated. What is it they don't understand that you want to be understood?
They don't. They believe what they read.
And what do they read?
The 100 keys and the, dealership.
Well, are those things true?
No, no.
So you didn't get arrested for that?
I was arrested and it's alleged, but it's not. I saw something I wasn't supposed to see.
What did you see?
75 keys at a dealership keys at friends. They set me up and I took the fall and was in jail for 28 days.
Okay. So you didn't steal the keys?
You were arrested breaking into a car, Stephanie, at the motel. That's what...
See?
Well,
is that true?
No. You don't know what happened. No one's ever let me talk.
Well, I'm letting you talk. Yeah. What happened?
I woke up in the motel, had no idea where I was at, banging on the door, my phone's going off, ringing, text messages about keys and dealership, and two gentlemen were banging on my door, and I go to the door, and they were grabbing me out of the room.
And then how did they just took you straight to the police car?
No. They took me straight to where I saw the keys. About 4 days prior.
This is interesting to me. So you weren't arrested from the hotel room. You were abducted?
Yes.
And they took you where? Well, I'm not asking for the address. I mean, they took you...
It was on the street. So we were out on the street, and then there's a police officer coming out of where I saw the keys 4 days prior.
Well, here's what the police blotter said. This was August 9th, and it said that you were jailed for allegedly stealing a vehicle and over 100 keys from a car dealership. The police recovered some keys and the vehicle, but while they were waiting to get a search warrant to the house that Stephanie allegedly left the residence and rented a room in a motel. Motel personnel called the police. Stephanie was trying to break into a car and broke the door handle. The police arrested Stephanie and found methamphetamine and drug paraphernalia. You were booked on a felony count of possession of dangerous drugs and an out-of-jurisdiction felony for burglary of car and writing a bad check. 3 misdemeanors, then theft of a building, possession of drug paraphernalia, and criminal mischief. So that's not right?
No, some of it is, and some of it isn't. Things were planted on me.
You were ripped away by people who weren't police, and you were kidnapped by them. You went back to this house, and you're just standing around, and then they decide to arrest you?
I wasn't standing around. I was abducted, Ryan.
I
Pay
know,
attention
but
to what I'm saying.
that's what I just said, Stephanie.
That is not what you just said.
I just told you that.
Stop telling me what's going on in my life.
That's what we're trying to figure out. We're trying to figure out what's going on in your life.
I'm trying to tell you, darling. And that's not a term of endearment.
Oh, yeah, and I don't expect much of that from you, ever.
It says they found methamphetamine and drug paraphernalia on you. Is that true?
No. When I was sitting there on the handcuffed in the police station, I had a case that I kept all my, because I'm a cosmetologist, all my hair stuff in, and it had 2 locks on it. And yes, it's plastic, but I could see from the bench that they had been cut off, and that's where the methamphetamines and the pipe were in.
So you think they planted those
Absolutely.
in your... Okay. All right, we're going to take a break. Stephanie insists she is being followed and that her phone is being bugged as well. She even says the police placed her in protective custody to keep her safe. Her mother and sister say it's not true. She's just lying to herself. She's delusional about that. We're going to let her clear that up after the break.
I'm constantly being watched. When I'm out and about, driving anywhere, I see the different vehicles that are following me around. I don't like talking on the phone because I believe they have been tapping my phone.
It's absolutely crazy. It makes no sense at all.
And later, she said, my mother is jealous of me. She wants my skin. She wants my legs.
She wants to skin me and wear me like last year's Versace.
We're not talking about, yeah. You've had good...
What? About a month ago, I went to see the counselor so that they could prescribe medication. I didn't like her condescending behavior. Right off the bat, she was asking me questions, trying to portray that I'm an addict. I could feel my anxiety getting to that limit of where I was going to explode on her. I told the counselor to her face that she was frumpy, a dork, and that she needed to brush her teeth, and she needed to take care of herself. You don't have to look like this. I was thinking that how can she take care of me when she can't even take care of herself? I was done, and I left.
Well, Jody says her daughter, Stephanie, has become so delusional that she now believes the Italian mafia is protecting her from imaginary stalkers. Stephanie says she is not paranoid at all. She's not delusional. In fact, she claims the police faked her recent arrest to keep her safe.
The people who accuse me of stealing have been following me. I'm constantly being watched. When I'm out and about, driving anywhere, I see different vehicles following me around. Coming up close to my vehicle and trying to run me off the road.
It's absolutely crazy. It makes no sense at all.
I don't like talking on the phone because I believe they have been tapping my phone. I've had to change my phone number 4 different times. 2 days ago, the producers were trying to get a hold of me and left me multiple messages, and I was unable to receive them until I had left the county. They absolutely were jamming my phone. When I was arrested last week, things did not happen the way that everybody thinks. My arrest was completely fake. The police thought that I was drinking and driving, so they came up to my car, and I ran out into traffic because I was scared. I was running from the people that were following me around, and I was running back to my apartment. I remember officers coming up to take me down, and then I blacked out. When we pulled into the police station, the male officer went to get me out, and all the plastic in the back of the cop car was completely dismantled. The police placed me in protective custody for my own safety to protect me from the people that were following me. And I had to do a sobriety test, and it was confirmed that I was not drinking.
That is another example of her delusions and her disconnection from reality.
It's like she's falling into this abyss that I can't get her out of.
My family would rather believe that I'm a criminal than actually hear the truth of what's really happened in my life. They need to wake up.
So the police did stop you thinking you had committed a crime.
That's not.
So, because that's what you said, but did they already know? You're saying they already knew you hadn't committed a crime when they stopped you?
Let me clarify it because it's kind of confusing. So I let my friend, it's a male friend, drive my car. He starts to go a different way. I said, that is not the way to my apartment. I said, stop trying to take me somewhere else. And he's like, oh, okay. And then we pull out on to the street that I live on. He kept mumbling stuff. And I said, get the out of my car. He gets out and then leaves the door wide open. I'm in the passenger seat, and I just jumped over the middle console, and my friend, he was long gone with the door wide open. So what the police were notified was me running out into traffic.
Well, here's what the police said about that. They charged you with obstructing justice. They said they observed a parked car around 11 p.m. whose hazard lights were flashing. When they approached the Lexus sedan, a woman exited the car and fled. Officers pursued and apprehended Stephanie, who allegedly resisted when officers attempted to arrest her for obstructing justice by fleeing. She was charged with resisting arrest and obstructing justice, both misdemeanors, and I understand 4 officers were involved.
They ended up dropping the obstructing justice.
Why were you arrested?
Because I ran out into traffic.
Okay.
When the female officer was there, I said, will you please just stay here with me? Just stay here with me. And she goes, but I am going to keep you here under protective custody.
Here's what it says. On-site arrest, custody, 2 days, $670. Protective custody, misdemeanor, resisting arrest, misdemeanor, obstructing justice, misdemeanor. And the protective custody was to protect you from hurting yourself or someone else?
No, it was because I was terrified.
We contacted a legal expert to interpret this protective custody charge, and according to law enforcement, the protective custody means taking someone into custody when they are a danger to themselves or others because of intoxication or mental infirmity.
They did an evaluation. That is correct. They kept me there. And
so it was protective custody to protect you from someone stalking you. It was protective custody to protect you because they deemed that you were a danger to yourself or others, either from intoxication or mental infirmity. Next, from insisting she's smarter and prettier to everyone believing that she's immortal, Ryan and Jody say Stephanie's grandiose opinions of herself are further indications that they think she's mentally unstable. She says that's absolutely not true. We'll talk about that after the break.
Stephanie is narcissistic pretty much every way. She has a grand impression of herself. She believes that she is smarter and prettier. She feels that women are jealous of her.
I hate
hate saying that I'm pretty, but I am.
Stephanie hates other women. Stephanie is constantly using her appearance to put them down. She calls complete strangers fat cows because they're not what she deems as beautiful. Stephanie believes she's God's gift to men.
Well, Jody and Ryan say they are so concerned about Stephanie's unstable and unpredictable behavior that they believe urgent measures need to be taken to protect her. Are you unstable?
Aren't we all? Just kidding. No.
Do you have a drug problem?
No.
Have you had a drug problem in the past?
I've used, yes.
I mean, to a problem level?
No.
Did you have a child that was born addicted to drugs?
Yes.
And were you, at 18 months, was there an Amber Alert issued for your child, and were you arrested in front of a meth house with methamphetamines on you?
No. I don't understand. No. No. We don't want to get into that.
That
we don't
didn't
want to
happen.
do that. We don't, no.
I'm sorry?
You do not want to get into that.
I don't think that story
The
is
extradition?
exactly
that is-
accurate.
Do you have a second trial set in March that has to do with methamphetamines?
A second trial? It was because they're in 2 different counties.
Right.
Yes.
And that has to do
I don't
with
know what you
meth?
Yes, where I live, there's that part, and then the Keys part is in a different county. That was the e-cigarette box.
You say you don't have a problem because that was planted on you?
Yes.
Okay, so you're not using meth now?
No.
They're concerned that...
We know what it's like to plant things and give it to the local sheriffs and have me extradited.
Are you suggesting that I planted that meth in the house and gave it to the sheriff?
Well, they think that you
But
have...
why would you do that?
They think that you have...
We thought it was a great idea to take this unused methamphetamine pipe and turn it into the local sheriffs. And you want to know how they found me? Is because I jumped out of the car because he was beating me while driving down the street.
That was a different day.
No, it wasn't. How can you talk to me about what I'm living? That's interesting to me. I don't know. Do I do that to you?
No.
It doesn't make any sense. To see where the delusion is?
Well, let's talk about... They think that you have this exaggerated view of yourself, and you...
Sure, I'm hot.
Well, you told us that you just...
Did anybody look at me when I came here?
You told the producers that you had been tested and had 185 IQ?
Yes. That was told to... By my mother. My mother told me that.
Because Stephen Hawking's is 160.
Well, you know him.
And Albert Einstein is 160.
We can make it 1,000 if you'd like. I don't know, whatever number.
I'm just curious.
Right, Mom?
She can, when she puts herself and gets focused, she's done remarkable things.
But I'm delusional.
Stephanie, you have...
before then.
We're not talking about, You've had good...
What?
She said, my mother is jealous of me. She's been jealous of me my whole life. She wants my skin. She wants my nose. She wants my legs.
She wants to skin me and wear me like last year's Versace.
I've told you that you are attractive, yes. And you're lucky you're nice and tall.
You've said that I want your legs. I'm not, you're putting words into my mouth. And again, this is why I don't communicate with you guys, because that comes out of both of you.
It comes out as a compliment, not as a real
that all was
thing.
very complimentary. Does anybody think here that that was complimentary, anything that they said when they saw that up on the screen? I'm going to go and say, no.
Well, let's leave them out of this. Do you believe that your mother wants you to be murdered and raped?
I just think she wants me to go away.
You have 2 children. Are you raising either one of them?
No, I'm not allowed to.
Why?
Why?
Well, I'm asking you.
Why, Reagan?
Excellent.
No, I'm asking you.
Oh, I'm just mimicking because I'm delusional.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil.
I am still haunted by the abuse that I had as a child. My father said that it was all my fault.
For the first time in 3 years.
He says you seduced him. How old were you when this started?
7 years old.
she will face her molester.
You say she pulled down your pants being a curious child.
Where do you think the curiosity came from? Little girls don't think about strip teasing unless they're taught it.
I didn't teach you strip tease.
You showed me porn videos.
It wasn't a big deal.
A father showing their minor daughter a pornographic video, that's a big deal.
That's tomorrow.
Stephanie's relationship with her children is very scattered. She hardly ever sees them.
I love my children very much, and I've always been there for them.
Stephanie has asked us to watch her kids, and then she didn't come back for several days.
Several times this past summer, Stephanie had left the children unattended, alone, and my niece would have to take care of her little brother, who's just a toddler. When she returned, her behavior was completely erratic.
My granddaughter loves her mother very much, but she wants to avoid confrontation. She has said, I just want to be a kid.
My mother is bad-mouthing me to my daughter, trying to get her to take her side.
She said that I had kidnapped her children, brainwashed her children.
My mother is coaching my children, telling them that I don't love them, and that's why I'm not around.
Stephanie has made threats that she would come and take her daughter from our home. We're not going to let that happen.
It hurts that my mother is trying to keep my children from me. She keeps saying that she's promised them that she was going to protect them, but I'm their mother. Well, what, are you trying to protect them from me? I will never, ever allow my mother to take my children away from me.
And you have 2 children, right?
Yes, I do.
And are you raising either one of them?
No, I'm not allowed to.
Why?
That's a good question. Why?
Why,
Well, I'm
Stephanie?
asking you.
Why, Ryan?
Oh, wow, that's excellent.
No, I'm asking you.
Oh, I'm just mimicking because I'm delusional.
No, I'm
Okay,
asking you
keep it up.
why.
Keep proving your case. You're doing a great job.
If you don't have a problem that needs addressing, you don't have custody of your children, you're not
I have
raising
custody
them.
of them. I'm just not allowed to raise them.
Why not? Why not? Why are you not allowed to raise them?
Mom.
Well, I'm not asking you. I'm asking you.
But because I've tried to do anything to move forward, and I keep getting knocked back. I have extreme high anxiety.
So you can't raise your children because you have anxiety?
The child is living with you?
Yes, and I've been granted temporary guardianship.
Were you aware of that?
No.
Okay. How do you feel about that?
Fine.
Right now, you're not in a spot where financially or emotionally that you are available to your children.
Correct.
When you say, look, I've been set up here, I've been set up there, people are following me here or there, that doesn't sound rational to me. And when you describe it and when I ask you detailed questions about it, you can't connect the dots up in a way that makes sense.
No,
so
it
I
doesn't.
don't believe that it is what's happening. I believe that you are distorting that in your mind.
No.
And I believe that if you will unravel that and say, what I need to do is get that behind me and deal with my perceptions, deal with my anxiety, then I can get control of my life again, get my children back in my life, get my independence back. Then that's what I want to do. But I can't do that with you if everything is a sarcastic put down and you're blaming the world for where you are instead of yourself.
Anybody.
Well,
Myself.
you're saying that
I'm
you've
mad
been
at
set
myself.
up. You're saying that you're set up.
Numerous
You're
times.
saying that there's a conspiracy and people are stalking you and bugging your phones. And I don't believe any of that. I believe that you have the ability to overcome all of this with some help.
Yes, absolutely.
We got to take a break. Stephanie says mothers living in glass houses shouldn't throw stones when it comes to being a terrible parent. I don't know how that helps us, but we'll be right back.
My entire life, my mother's always been jealous of me. She wants to be me. I've always felt that she wants me to go away, be murdered. Then she could be me, the perfect little angel. I have been abused and abused my whole life. I was molested when I was 7 years old. I lost my virginity to being raped when I was 13 years old. I have been in severely abusive relationships. I dated a schizophrenic. He would just snap, and then from behind, he would take a shoulder, right here up against the wall and just freak out. He had about 20 stairs leading up to his condo and booted me right off, kicked me down the stairs. One time I had to put a gun to his head so I could go to sleep. The guy threw me down on the ground, on the asphalt, sat with my belly down on the ground, and spit on me. I can't do it anymore. I'm serious, you guys. This is why I jumped out of the car. I can't. I'm done for the day.
Well, Stephanie says she's been really used and abused her entire life, but her family never seemed to care about that. I don't think it's true. I think they do care about that. And Stephanie says her mother's lack of compassion and lack of motherly instincts began at an early age. Take a look.
I always wanted my mom to love me, to hug me, and say that she was proud of me. My mother has never done any of that. My entire life, my mother's always been jealous of me. She wants to be me. When I was in high school, she made comments about how she wants my skin, she wants my nose, she wants my legs. I would come home and she'd be trying on my clothes. It's never felt like I'm her child. I feel like I'm her sibling. I taught my sister, Ryan, how to ride her bike, how to tie her shoes, how to cook, because my mother was out partying all the time. My sister treats me horribly, considering all the things that I have done for her. My mother's been married 4 times. Anytime that they would get close to me, she would divorce them. My mom would throw these big, huge parties, and older gentlemen would say things that were so inappropriate. Even as a child, you know it's inappropriate. You don't put a little child in those situations around adult men and leave me alone with them. She was supposed to be my protector. I don't feel safe around my mom. I've always felt that she wants me to go away, be raped, be murdered. My whole life, I feel like my mom's been trying to get rid of me. But then she could be me, the perfect little angel. I want her to stop taking away my thunder.
Do you think that what you're referring to as anxiety, which I think is probably a pretty good label,
Thank you.
Do you think that's powerful enough that it is causing you to see the world as a hurtful place?
Yes.
In some respects?
Absolutely.
Because, you know, you can look at it and, you know, you talk about these people are like following you, or these people are out to get you or whatever, and it can sound like, you know, wow, that's like really paranoid or psychotic or whatever. But the truth is, if we have really bad anxiety, and people that haven't had really bad anxiety have a hard time relating to this, but if you have really bad anxiety, you can see the world as a really, really hurtful place and be really, really threatened by it. And that makes it very difficult to function. And you also have a history with methamphetamine.
Correct.
And methamphetamine can really change the neurotransmitters in your brain to the point that your problem recognition and your problem-solving skills are really disrupted from what they may have been at a time before. Mm-hmm. And I think some of the behaviors that you are exhibiting now are not who you really are.
No.
I don't think that's the way you are.
That's how we feel too. That's why we're
I don't think that's who you are at all. And I think one of two things are going to happen over the next 90 days. You're either going to go to court and get in a storm you don't want, or you're going to go down a path where you start a curative process and get yourself back where you're on your own 2 feet as a single and active parent. And she wants nothing more than to unify you back with your daughter.
Yes.
I don't want to judge you. I want to help you.
Thank you.
And I do have a plan right after the break.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil. Molested as a child by her own father.
You showed me videos.
It wasn't a big deal.
Showing her a pornographic video, that's a big deal.
That's tomorrow. The #1 show in daytime is taping now. All we need is you.
If you're going to be in the Los Angeles area and want to watch a live taping of the Dr. Phil Show, Call 323-461-PHIL or visit drphil.com. Tickets are free, and I hope to see you soon. I get you. I really do. And I am willing to do a couple of things. And I want to do this with you, not to you. If you don't want to do it, go to court and do what you do. But there's a place in Malibu that I'm going to offer you called Creative Care. And they deal with all sorts of things to get people back where they need to be, whether it's substance abuse, mental health treatment, whatever. And Creative Care is beautiful. They've got a campus in Malibu and a campus in Calabasas, and I mean, it's stunning. The biggest problem they have is people don't want to leave. Well, seriously, I mean, look at this place. It's absolutely stunning. And I've talked to Dr. Kaligi, who is the director there. He's been over your case. We've talked about this whole thing, and I've arranged for you to go there and be totally selfish in your own behalf and put yourself in the shop and say,
do it.
For once, I'm going to put myself first. And then I want to get you a life coach, somebody that's going to help you with resumes, somebody that's going to help you with contacts in your industry, somebody that's going to step up and help you get some traction and put things back together. It's awful easy to criticize you and ridicule you and talk about some of your thoughts and behaviors, or somebody can just step up and say, instead of judging me, just let me help you.
Yes.
And that's what I want to do. And if you'll let me do that, that's what I would like to offer for you to do.
Yes.
What do you think?
Awesome.
Okay. Fair enough? Yeah. Okay. All right. I want to thank all of my guests today, and a special thanks to Creative Care for offering the resources to Stephanie. And as I say, that's just a beginning. After that, we say, all right, now, how do we go about getting her to star in her own life again?
Yes. Yes.
And that's what's going to happen. We'll see you next time.